Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Z-Cast. And today is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. Now, we officially have our first college football matchup of the weekend on Saturday in Dublin, Ireland. We have Kansas State against Iowa State. I actually have a ranked matchup in week 0, which is very nice. And obviously a Big 12 matchup, so that's very exciting. Obviously, I'm very excited for that matchup on Saturday. So, today, we are continuing our series, while today brings us to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who finished 2024 4-13. Very disappointing for the Jaguars. They fired Doug Peterson, I believe, like week 7 or week 8, after a tough loss to the Detroit Lions. I believe they fired Doug Peterson, which is a bit surprising because in 2022, Doug Peterson's first season as Jaguars head coach, he looked like he was the perfect coach for Trevor Lawrence to really take that next step and develop. Of course, Trevor Lawrence has been this top prospect. He's very compared to Peyton Manning. He's been one of the more hyped up quarterback prospects of my lifetime. Obviously, I've thrown him with Peyton Manning, Caleb Williams. He's certainly been in that discussion in terms of his hype coming out of Clemson. And rightfully so. He had an amazing college career at Clemson, but he did have a great season in 2022 and even led them in an insane home playoff win against the Chargers in the wild card game. That was a very insane comeback. I think we all remember Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks in the first half of that game. But somehow they ended up coming back and winning that game, which is a very nice win for the for the Jaguars that time. They also almost beat Kansas City in 2022. They had a shot to win that game. I think they had a fumble late in that game that cost them, but they did play the Chiefs very tight in 2022. So, point being, Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson took a big step back from 2022 into 2023, and also obviously in 2024 as well, and that cost Doug Peterson his job. Now, last season there was one lone bright spot on this team last season, and that was rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., who was very slept on last year. Another wide receiver picked out of LSU. Now, he was very slept on because his teammate Malik Neighbors was picked, I think, 3rd or 4th overall last year's draft, and he fell all the way to pick, I believe, 19 or 20 for the Jaguars. So obviously a very slept-on player, but he had an amazing rookie season. He finished with over 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns with 2 quarterbacks. Obviously last year, the Jaguars split starts at quarterback between Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. Both quarterbacks did not do very well, as Trevor Lawrence only had 11 total touchdowns. Now, he did only start 10 games, but still, you're expecting bigger things out of him. Had a bit of a down year for some of the other players on offense, including wide receiver Christian Kirk, who I believe almost got traded. I don't think he got traded now, but he actually might not be on the team anymore. I'm going to have to double-check that, but I believe he was possibly a trade candidate during the season last year. Now, also running back Travis Etienne, his brother is Trevor. Travis had a pretty down year as well. Now, their whole offense was pretty bad. Offensive line played pretty bad last season, did not protect Mr. Trevor Lawrence very well. So that brings us to the 2025. Now, also, one more thing I will say, they had 2 studs on defense last season, including 3, actually. You want to throw in Foye Oluokun, one of the top 10 defensive linebackers in the entire NFL, very slept on. They also had a pretty good season, a career season from Trayvon Walker, former number 1 overall pick, had 10.5 sacks. Very quiet, had a really quiet, great season last year. Also, Josh Hines-Allen, linebacker, finished with 8.5 sacks as well. So, besides those 3 bright spots on defense and Brian Thomas Jr., not much positive going on for the Jaguars last season. Now, that brings us to the 2025 season, where they hired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Liam Cohen. They stole him he was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator, and the Jaguars decided to bring him in as their new head coach to try to finally help Trevor Lawrence take that next step in his development and become a true elite quarterback, which they need him to be because they pay him like it. He certainly seems like he could be, but it just hasn't seemed to work out yet in Jacksonville. Now, it is, I believe, coach number 4 for him. He started off with, obviously, Urban Meyer. He's experienced some new, trying to work with this new guy, Liam Cohen, and see if he can finally help Trevor Lawrence. Now, they did make some good moves, I'd say, in the offseason. They signed guard from the Baltimore Ravens, Patrick McCary, got him up to a 3-year deal. They also signed from the Commanders wide receiver, Dyami Brown, who I'm thinking he's going to be pretty good. They also signed from the Jaguars cornerback, Jordan Lewis, to compare him next to Tyson Campbell. I think that could be a pretty decent cornerback pairing as well. Now, the main talk of the Jaguars, and I think obviously the only main reason why people are going to pay attention to the Jacksonville Jaguars is their draft pick. They made a huge trade with the Cleveland Browns, and they also gave up their first-round pick in 2025 and next year in 2026. A bit of a risky move, but obviously they have very high hopes for this guy. They drafted the stud Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, cornerback and receiver, two-way player, two-way superstar, one of the best college football players I have ever seen out of Colorado. Now, obviously, he's going to be one of the main storylines of this entire NFL season. I am absolutely very fascinated to see where the Jaguars will play him. Are they going to play him more on offense? Because obviously they don't have many weapons besides Brian Thomas on offense. He would be a huge addition for Trevor Lawrence. Now, their defense could obviously use him as well, next to Jordan Lewis and Tyson Campbell. Now, for me, there's been a lot of debate on whether or not he will play both positions. I think the talk in Jaguars camp is they are preparing him to play both. I think he's personally a better wide receiver. I think he's got some of the best hands I've ever seen. I consider him very much one of the best wide receiver prospects. But again, now in the NFL, the main question is, how much is his stamina going to be an issue later on in the season, a whole 17-game season? Can he seamlessly play both sides of the field continuously throughout the entire season? Honestly, I don't know. Obviously, nobody has ever really attempted it. People have done it in the NFL. I believe Deion Sanders did it, but I don't think he's been able to do it very long and very effective. So I will be interested to see how he does. Obviously, I would love to see him do both. It's very impressive, obviously very exciting, and no doubt one of the main reasons why I will be following the Jacksonville Jaguars this season to see how they use Travis Hunter. Obviously, he could be a huge addition to their offense. But I have one of my main concerns with him is, in terms of playing defense, I'm not sure how he's going to be able to be playing offense. In the NFL is very tough, way different than college. And then to turn around and try to tackle guys like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and big body receivers, try to cover Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, because he's going to draw that number one receiver on the other end. So how's he going to be able to do it? I honestly don't know, but it's obviously something very exciting to keep your eye on. So for the main reason of Travis Hunter, I will be watching the Jacksonville Jaguars this season, of course, because he is making potential history in the NFL for the Jaguars. So obviously very exciting for them to watch, see how he does. They have some pretty good, as mentioned before, pretty solid players on defense, including Foye Oluokun, a very underrated linebacker, one of the best tacklers, constantly leads the league in tackles, stud. They also have, again, mentioned before, Tyson Campbell. I do like him. Entering year 4, I believe, Tyson Campbell out of Georgia. Also have third or fourth year linebacker out of Utah, Devin Lloyd. I'm a big fan of him. His career has been off to a bit of a slow-ish start, but I do think he could potentially have a pretty big upside. Also got running back Tank Bigsby. Word on the street is Tank Bigsby might be stealing Travis Etienne's job. Again, he did have a bit of a slow season last year, and I expect Tank Bigsby, the running back out of Auburn, I think it's now year 3 for him. I expect him to possibly take Travis Etienne's job and potentially have a huge role in terms of their running backs. Because, again, I don't see how this offense without Travis Hunter is going to be very effective. Obviously, you still have Brian Thomas Jr., but if he's going to require all the defense to pay attention to him, again, I don't think they have Christian Kirk anymore. I believe he signed with the Texans. So I don't know, besides Brian Thomas Jr., who they're really going to be looking at on offense besides, obviously if Travis Hunter is able to play offense, which I, again, think he is not going to say he's way better, but I think he's an elite player on both ends, but I think especially a wide receiver, he's a very special talent. So he will be a huge addition for Trevor Lawrence. Now, this offensive line is a bit of a concern for me. Again, played very poorly last year. I just don't think they did much to improve it this offseason. Again, they made some moves, signed some guys, but I don't know if they're going to be able to protect Trevor Lawrence. I do think they have a tough, obviously the AFC is very tough, their division. They could possibly be, I don't see anything better than the Colts in this division. I see them finishing third, if that gives you guys a hint. They do open the season home against Carolina. Of course, that should be, I would say, a victory for them, for the Jaguars. You're at home, new coach, chance to start off 1-0 at home. I think you kind of have to win that game. Then week 2 at the Bengals. Obviously, the last couple of years, the Bengals have started very slow, but I think the Bengals will probably start fast this season, so that could be a tough game. Also have week 3 home against the Texans, and then at week 4 they travel to San Francisco. The Niners are a very interesting and fascinating team to follow in 2025. But, of course, this season for the Jaguars, I will be following Travis Hunter. I think he's one of the main exciting and one of the more, one of the probably main storylines of this entire NFL season is watching Travis Hunter and seeing what he will do. How much will he play on offense? How much will he play on defense? Will he play both? He himself said he wants to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is obviously unheard of. So if he's got that goal for himself, I'd love to see him try to do that. I'm not sure about you guys, but I would love to see him try to do that. So for the Jaguars, again, unfortunately, I don't see Travis Hunter helping this team win that many games in 2025. I do have him finishing 5-12. I'm sorry, Jaguars fans. I'm just not. This offensive line still has some concerns with me, as well as this defense. I don't think this defense can really stop as many guys. I'm just a little concerned about this defense. I'm not going to lie. So, guys, I do have him, again, finishing 5-12, and that means third in the AFC South division. I do have him finishing behind the Colts and the Houston Texans. I'm sorry, Jaguars fans. Now, guys, I got to give a quick another mention of the O's. We will be hosting the Houston Astros tonight. Now, the Astros, the Orioles took 2 out of 3 from them last weekend and almost won in overtime in extra innings that Saturday night game. So the O's are playing very good ball right now. This is the home debut for Dylan Beavers and Samuel Basallo, who have made instant impacts on this team ever since they got caught up last weekend in Houston. We got Brandon Young, Mr. Brandon Young, who I'm very hyped to watch tonight, who took a perfect game into the 8th inning against the Astros on Friday last week. So very exciting, going up against Sean Alexander. So, guys, thanks for watching. Of course, this has been the Zcast. Please like, subscribe, and follow for more. And this has been the Zcast. Go O's.